Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Steel City Commuters Podcast. I am Austin Cairns, joined here alongside Nicholas Brown, and we are back on Zoom for yet another week of content. Nick, it's always good to see you, my friend. We ran into each other earlier at Academic Hall. Now we're on luxurious Zoom. How's it going, my friend?
It's going well. When you say luxurious Zoom, you're actually in a better place than I am. Even though I'm in the comfort of my own home, Austin is actually at the media hub, but he's actually in a conference room where it's actually meant for a business roundtable. Literally, that's the way to put it. So it is a luxurious space. We don't really utilize it. We try to get into the media hub, guys. It just didn't work out once again. So we're back on Zoom, but that's okay because we promise next week we will be in person. That's the promise we can make. We're in person next week. And we are going to get into all those details because we have a very special guest next week that, of course, we have to promote.
Absolutely, indeed. And I'm not going to lie to you, Nick, these chairs are really comfy in the conference room. I might be coming here over the media hub more often, or I might snatch them and take them to the media hub when we're actually on air. Who knows? These chairs are really nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're leaning back. I'm in my gaming chair like I
Oh,
normally I
yeah.
just used it as my office chair. I'm a little jealous right now because I do like the conference room. I do like the setup and layout of it. But, of course, nothing can go right 2 weeks in a row for us.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? It's still city.
It's still
It's always at
city.
least one thing going to go.
It's also gambling city too because I didn't hit the $1 million scratch off like we planned because it just
Oh,
didn't
like
work
you planned.
like we
You
planned.
you planned on hitting the $1 million.
I did plan on it. I just didn't buy it at the right place. So we're gonna have to go to the North Hills because that's where all the winnings are. Nothing in downtown. I can never win anything in downtown at this point.
So wait, you think you were going to get a guaranteed $1 million? What are you, Mr. Beast? What are you talking about?
I just have this feeling right now that I'm on this kick of lottery that eventually the $1 million is going to turn up, and we're gonna use this money to get to Jason Aldean because that's what we're planning this summer is some concerts that Austin and I and some other friends, Lucas potentially, that we're trying some concerts and we need a little bit of funding here. We're like running low on funding. Tuition is due, textbooks are due, everything is
I got
due.
a car.
It's the summer months. A bus pass is going to be expiring, so we're gonna need some cash flow. We're gonna need some lottery hits, maybe some bingo hits.
Oh Lord, here goes the bingo again. But no, I fully agree with you. I believe that us being able to save up for those country concerts, my Lord, words, it's gonna be great. Jason Aldean. Actually, let me ask you, which one would you look more forward to? Jason Aldean or Luke Bryan? They're both coming to Star Lake. I think either one would be good.
They're both back to back too. We didn't realize this
I
until
know.
that it was August 2nd and the 9th. And but we're already kind of managing how we're gonna play around with this. We're gonna do like, slumber party like we're back in high school, but that's what we do nowadays. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to Luke Bryan, I think. Maybe Jason? I'm not really feeling the vibe. I don't want to pick one because then you're gonna get the haters. Well, you like this one over this one. I'm looking forward to Luke. Well, they're both Friday nights, but you know what I'm really looking forward to, Austin? Good weather. I
What?
don't want any rain.
Uh, no rain, nice cool breeze, not too hot, not too muggy, not too cold, not like just a nice warm temperature with a nice cool breeze while we're at Star Lake. I would absolutely love it.
I would. Friday evening. What else is there better to do?
Yeah, what else? I mean, there ain't nothing else around here.
Especially when we have Lucas. That really adds a whole layer to this conversation. Uh,
Nah, that actually makes things worse for me because I'm gonna get picked on.
well, no, because you're just the instigator and you like to pick on everybody else. So that just adds
That is
fuel to
not
the fire.
true. No, no,
And
no.
you know
Time out,
it
time out,
too.
time out, time out. The flag on the play, foul, technical, false start, whatever you want to call it. That is not true, Nick. You guys took over my radio show last week and bullied me on there. What do you mean?
I think the radio show with new management did very well. I think the ratings were at an all-time high. It's been proven that whenever you have new management, the new management stays.
Okay. It stays.
It stays, and they don't go away.
Mhm. I think this is a good transition to our first topic. You want to know what else doesn't go away, Nick?
March Madness, Pirates.
The sadness. Sadness for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
What about hockey? Sadness for the Penguins.
Let's say sadness for the Steel City in general. I feel like all three sports teams are sad, include all the colleges as well. But I want to start off talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They just wrapped up their series against the New York Yankees, winning their last game 5-4. The two previous games were losses 10-4 and 9-4. This is coming off a series loss to both the Tampa Bay Rays and Miami Marlins to start the season. They, of course, are back at home tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals. Nick, what's your thought on the Pirates so far this year?
If the only way you can win is by a walk-off, you don't deserve to do much in a regular season. I don't know how many times we've said it between this show, the radio show, and anywhere else. Bob Nutting needs to sell this team. I think this support right now that Nutting needs to sell the team is growing at record pace. I think it was PNC Park over the weekend off, so I'm not sure if you saw some videos circulated by KDK, but they showed Nutting and they just said, Nutting, what about selling the team? And he kind of just, I don't want to say he dodged it. He kind of just didn't even want to entertain it. He was like, no, I'm not. At this point, I think we're willing and fans are willing to say, you're not going to sell the team. We're not going to come and support. And I think you're going to eventually see that through the cash flowing in the stadium. What's the attendance? Yes, it was record attendance, but I'm pretty sure there were more Yankees than Pirates fans in the stadium. I'm pretty sure. I can probably bet some money on that.
Of course, and I want to transition into this as well. I mean, when we take a look at the Pittsburgh Pirates throughout these first three series, they only won one game in all three of those series. They beat the Marlins once, they beat the Rays once, and they beat the Yankees once. Every other game they lost this year. They're arguably the worst team in their division, one of the worst teams in all of Major League Baseball, and this falls on Bob Nutting. This falls on Derek Shelton. This falls on the management of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I absolutely hated the pitching adjustments. First and foremost, why was Paul Skeens not pitching a single game in the Yankee series? I want to know why Derek Shelton did not have him in any of the rotations at all throughout those three games. Number two is Ryan Barucki. He was in the top of the eighth inning for the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is a guy that just came over recently from Chicago's minor league team, and he gave up 3 runs in that inning when they already had 2 outs. Now, keep in mind, this is top of the eighth. The Pirates are already leading 4-1, and Ryan Barucki steps into the game on the mound. If you're Derek Shelton and you let your young pitcher give up 3 runs to tie the game in the top of the eighth inning, why are you not pulling him? Again, this is a coaching issue. This is a management issue. Their replacement for that going into the 10th and 11th inning was putting in Chase Sugart, who never even played a game for the Pirates. His first day on the job with the Pirates was against the Yankees yesterday, and they put him to close off the game. Now, congratulations, the Pirates still ended up winning 5-4. But again, these are the dumb decisions that cost the Pirates games time and time again. And that's the point that I wanted to bring up to you, Nick. If they continue to do that in the Cardinal series and the rest of the year, don't expect more than 80 wins from the Pirates.
More than 80. You're lucky they're going to get 60. Honestly, I'm literally writing this down because eventually, as the season moves on, we're going to actually look back at future episodes and look back at the previous episodes and see kind of where our predictions have lined up. And so far, we've been building on this sequence that the Pirates and the whole Steel City, they're just falling apart. They're at this all-time low that it seems that all three coaches and all three kind of owners need to make changes, and none of these changes are happening. The only time these changes are going to occur when fans are going to stop going to the stadiums and spending money. So Pirate fans, if you actually want to change, the thing is you need to not go to the game. You need to actually spend your money somewhere else, not at the bookstore, not over at the Pirates store. You can't go to the Penguins store. No matter which team you're looking at, even college, you can't spend your money. That's why they're not changing, in my opinion, is because they still think that the fans are still backing with them. The fans have this support. They don't want change. They're still spending money. Once they start to see money dropping like flies, that's when the really changes are going to go into effect. It's just like a program on TV, Austin, and I kind of want to use this because I think it's fair. When your ratings are good, people are going to continue to watch, and that anchor and those people are going to get bonuses. They're going to get on air more time. But once ratings start to drop, you get pulled. You get cut right off the air. There's like no goodbye. You're just going to get a call one day from the manager that says, your 9 p.m. show, it's tanking. We're losing money. We're done. And they pull and they move on. There's no looking back. There's no, what can we do to fix this? They're done. That's what needs to happen with all these teams. These managers, these owners, they're done. Like the money is still flowing in because they're not done. They're like these people that they can continue to keep pouring cash in because the fans, they don't want to take that step. They don't actually want to stop going to the game. They actually want to go to the game. And I think that's where the real issue aligns.
Yeah, the real issue aligns there too. And again, I'm not gonna fully blame management and coaching. I'm certainly gonna put that on the forefront. They absolutely deserve to take most of the bullets here in this case scenario. But I'm gonna call out a couple of players too. Jack Sawinski, he has been relatively quiet to start the year. What about Joey Bart? As much as it pains me to say it, even Andrew McCutchen has been off his grind to start off the season. So a lot of players for the Pittsburgh Pirates aren't contributing as much as we would think they would. And you would think with a batting rotation of Key Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, and O'Neill Cruz, we would be knocking out of the ballpark, but we're not. And again, that falls on coaching decisions. And to bring up the point that you were talking about with the Pirates not paying players, you're right about that, Nick. What are the Pirates going to do when Paul Skeens is ready for his $500 million contract? He absolutely deserves it. He's a generational talent. He's gonna just go somewhere else. He's gonna go to the Yankees. He's gonna go to the Dodgers. He's gonna go to the Mets. They're gonna pay him that contract. Pirates definitely aren't. But I will give a shout out to one player who stood out to me and, in my opinion, who won the game for them against the Yankees. Adam Frazier made an incredible play, closed off the game. I was very impressed with him the entire time when he was playing in the infield. I just wanted to show some love Adam Frazier's way.
Jack Sawinski, believe it or not, he was actually a key player last season, if I remember correctly, right, Austin? It's like
He was last season, but he dropped off drastically as the season ended. But most of the Pirates did. But yeah, he was a big part
he
last
was
year.
a key player last year. That's a lot of the players and team who they relied on, especially in critical moments. I think top of the ninth, bottom of the ninth, Austin. That's when Jack really was critical because they knew he could hit. They knew he could make runs possible. Now it just seems this season they're like discombobulated. They're not, it's like a group, and I even posted this and I can even relate it to this. This team is like a group working together that didn't read the syllabus of a project. Honestly, that's literally what this whole Pirates season, Penguin season, Steelers season is. It's these groups that they're just not on the same messaging. They're not on the same values as they were years ago. They're not making the efforts to reel people in, to bring the revenue into PNC, into PPG, into Heinz or slash Acrisure Stadium, if you want to call it like that. They're not reeling people in at this point. We're like dropping off suddenly like flies and nobody's doing anything about it until the revenue is the key part and the revenue is not dropping off. That's why. The revenue is still there and you're not going to see much movement. But honestly, how can you start a season like this? You're playing the Cardinals, who are 4-5, that normally end up taking a series, normally end up taking, this. But you're playing the Cardinals so early on, Austin. That's a key for this. It's kind of going to set the stage for how the Cardinals have been playing and what's going to come when you actually have to travel to St. Louis. If you can't win at home, you're surely going to have a tougher time on the road.
Yeah, and I will also say the games that followed, the series against the Red, the series against the Nationals, those seem like easy wins. But again, those could easily be trap games for the Pirates as well. So they got to watch out there. But the Pittsburgh Pirates haven't been the only team that's been depressing recently in the Steel City. You already mentioned it earlier, Nick. How about the Pittsburgh Penguins? I mean, last night, Chicago Blackhawks taking a loss of them. Ned was in the net. What's your thoughts and opinions there?
How can you lose to the Chicago Blackhawks, who are 22, 45, and 10? Right there. Like,
I'll tell you how. Ned was in the net and Mike Sullivan was the head coach. That's how.
I mean, I thought the Penguins were at least going to try and break 500, break something. They're 31, 35, and 12. I don't know. I just think it's this time. You just need new management. You just need a change in this culture. I don't, looking at this Penguin season, we thought that they were going to get the Steel Cup. We thought they were going to go far. They're probably going to be, I don't even think they're going to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not going to make the playoffs. There is absolutely no, as Vince McMahon once famously said, no chance in hell that they are going anywhere near the playoffs this year. It's kumbaya in Pittsburgh, Nick. It's been kumbaya for a very long time. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of players real quick. I mean, Rickard Rakell and Brian Rust both were key players for the Pens in this game. They both combined for 10 shots on goal. They were the most aggressive on offense in this game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this is coming from two guys who's been the leading goal scorers of the Penguins all season long. in terms of shot on goals and in terms of actual goals themselves. But the defense in this game was very lackluster. I mean, you give up 3 goals to a team that is bottom of the barrel, bottom of their conference. And then the Penguins, they have a losing record themselves, 4 games out from a winning record. And they can't even close off a series win against a Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, you look at this team, the Chicago Blackhawks hasn't been relevant since Patrick Kane was in town and Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, I will give the credit. They got Connor Bedard, and I'm a big fan of Connor Bedard. Nick, we haven't talked about that man yet. On 2 Jagoffs, they know how much I love me some Connor Bedard. But in this game in particular, oh my goodness, why was Ned in the net? I've been a Jarry critic all year.
That's a good one.
I've been a Jarry critic all year, but why is Jarry not in the net in this game? Hell, why is Bloomquist not in the net in this game? Ned? No, absolutely not. Very disappointed. And I will make a point real quick, Nick. With me doing all this broadcasting and networking that I've been doing recently, I've had the pleasure to meet so many great broadcasters and so many great reporters in the field so far. So on Sunday, I watched the Pirates game, and then I watched the Penguins game. And Greg Brown, my buddy, was calling the Pirates game. And Josh Getzoff, who I just recently got in contact with from the Penguins, was calling the Pens game on Pittsburgh Sportsnet. Both games, they sounded so optimistic about their teams. And I so badly wanted to text them and say, guys, they suck. Why are you so happy? They both stink.
I think the reality hasn't kicked in yet to any of these reporters, any of these players, that yes, you have to cover a game and you kind of have to be optimistic, but in reality, you have to flip it and actually just tell it like it is. I'm sorry, but we just can't sugarcoat these situations. Once these players and reporters that cover these sports start making these statements that we are doing and start writing these op-eds, these paper articles that are going to gain attention, that's when changes are going to happen. It seems that all these announcers are just sugarcoating, saying it's eventually going to get done. Well, when's eventually? When is that? Now, tomorrow, next season, 3 seasons, 4 or 5 years? I think we have to face the reality that it's time for everybody to move on. It's time for the shakeup that's willing to happen. You have to flush it out. This is the time to flush. And this is the time, we're like rinsing and repeating in these situations. We say it the same every year with the Pirates, Derek Shelton. We say it every year with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. We say it every year with Mike Sullivan. It's time to move on. You're not getting the support, you're not winning, and you're certainly not going to go for another Stanley Cup or playoff run. If you can't even make it to the playoffs at this point, your season's about over. Why start trying to win now?
Yeah, why start trying to win now? And there's another player I wanted to mention real quick too, Ryan Graves. Where were you? I mean, for a 60-minute playing period, he was a complete non-factor for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that's locked in for a 4-year contract with tens of millions of dollars guaranteed. And all he did last night against the Chicago Blackhawks was get cardio, Nick. That's all he did was get cardio out there. Very disappointed in the way he's been playing this year. Wouldn't be surprised if he's on the trading block, if the Pens can even trade him.
None of the coaches are locked in. Neither are none of the owners.
No, absolutely not. That's one of the bad mistakes Dubas made.
Yes.
One of the few. I'm a Dubas guy. I was not a big fan of Hextall, but that's one move I can't get behind. Absolutely not.
And when you're not locked in, that's what happens for oncoming seasons as losses and revenue decline.
Was there a connotation behind that phrase you just said?
No.
Because you said locked in and you kind of looked at me and gave me that look. Are you alluding that I'm not locked in?
I wasn't alluding to you that you weren't locked in, because that's kind of a hint towards to when we're going to transition to March Madness. But just this overall thing of being locked in, we're not really seeing it in Pittsburgh. You can only be locked in for quite some time until your locked inness starts to disappear, and that's when you get the signal it's time to move on.
Of course. Well, I will say this, Nick. One thing I am locked in for is my March Madness brackets.
You sure about that? Lucas and I seem to think that you were, and you listened to the radio show last week. We weren't entirely sure.
Well, my women's bracket I was completely off with, which is something I wanted to touch on real quick. I want to shout out a couple of players real quick. Yesterday, UConn Huskies absolutely ramrodded the University of South Carolina 82-59 in that game. Paige Buchers and the UConn Huskies went on to win the national championship. UConn recently defeated UCLA 85-51, in their Final Four matchup, while South Carolina defeated Texas 74-57 in theirs. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, Nick. I'm very impressed with this UConn Huskies team. I had South Carolina going all the way, and I said beginning of the year, I didn't think anybody can stop them. They were 30-3 on the season. They were leading almost every offensive stat possible. Their defense was criminally underrated in the rankings. I was very surprised to see South Carolina out of the top 10 in defense going into March Madness this year. And then you look at UConn, who has Paige Buchers, who, in my opinion, is one of the best female basketball players that we have in college basketball right now. Very much looking forward to seeing what she does when she goes to the WNBA, with her recently announcing her entering the draft. But this was pure domination for the UConn Huskies. Very impressed to see a championship there. It was heartbreaking to see Dan Hurley and the men's team not make it, but the women was able to make up for it. Shout out to the ladies over in UConn.
Yeah, women's are starting to actually be more interesting. I think if you look at the two and who people were trying to bet more, what would get more views, and the overall, troublingness of everything and the upsets, women is really starting to get more competitive. And I think as we start to move down the line and even in the further years to come, more people are going to be turning to the women's basketball, because this season really proved that upsets can really happen on both men and women. I think we could make that comparison, that these women are like out for the WNBA. And you could even argue that some of these games are actually more interesting to watch than some of the men.
Nick, I want to share a point with you that I made last year on my other podcast. When I was doing March Madness last year, because last year on Two Jackals was my first year ever covering March Madness on a platform. And I did both a men's and women's bracket because I wanted to be fair and equal to both schools, because at the end of the day, they're both doing a bracket. I wanted to be fair. And I was not expecting the women's bracket to cook as much as it did. I mean, at the time, you got to remember, they had Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, just to name a few of the many stars that competed in March Madness last year. And seeing the absolute cinema of LSU versus Iowa last year was just magic. South Carolina going undefeated, USC and the Trojans doing their thing. Women's basketball, Notre Dame, Ohio State, all these schools were just playing phenomenal, lights out basketball, and that most certainly translated into this year. I will say this, the one constructive piece of criticism I do have for the female game is the championship game is going to kill them this year. You never want to see a pure domination in a championship game. When you have a championship game, you're expecting the two best teams to play against each other. When one of them doesn't even show up, that being South Carolina, it's a pretty one-sided affair. Now, I'm happy for UConn. I'm happy for the Huskies. They absolutely deserve this win. But the championship this year was relatively boring because it was a one-sided game. Most people clicked off before the second period even began.
When you look at women, just looking at it last night, UConn versus South Carolina. And if you look at South Carolina and how they move, you kind of have to look at the bracket and see, how they came. Their last game, they actually almost lost. They only won 54-50. They did show up, but they didn't have that overall strength, because if you look, previously they won. They almost lost the previous game to Maryland, to Duke. Mm-hmm. Like, these games were close. The only one that I saw blowout was South Carolina and Tennessee Tech, 108-48. A blowout game. Everybody thought that was going to be the South Carolina run that was going to be the dominant. Yes, they had a run, but they weren't very dominant, because if you look at these games, 64-53, 71-67, 54-50. Any one more or two fouls or any costly mistakes really could have costed it. Even last night, they didn't even show up. 82-59. What happened to the 108 points? It seems that UConn came into this game ready to fight. They watched the tape, and they knew exactly how to face South Carolina.
Most certainly they did. Most certainly they did. And that's a good transition into the men's now. And the men's championship game actually hasn't happened yet. That is going to be played tonight after the Steel City Commuters episode drops. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little different here on the show today. We're going to quickly go back and recap the games that were played in the Final Four. And then myself and Nick is going to give our official championship predictions. And then next week when Lucas comes on, we'll see if we were right on it. So I'm going to start off by saying the scores from, of course, this past weekend. The Florida Gators went on to defeat the Auburn Tigers 79-73, while Duke went on to lose 70-67, which was a big shocker to many people. The championship is set, Florida and Houston. Nick, how did we get here? What's your opinions on all this?
Duke, they literally were winning. And
I know.
I went to do something and I come back and they just blew it. They lost. I'm like, they just lost, and it was just amazing to see that happen in real time with what? Within about 20, 25 seconds. They literally, it was just amazing to see.
Yeah, no, I invited my good friend Kevin Homa up that night. It was just me and him chilling, watching March Madness. We go in the other room to get a slice of pizza. Next thing you know, I come back in and Houston's up. I'm like, what the hell happened? I was like, I was gone for not even 10 seconds. And Houston ended up going up on Duke. And this is again going to affect the NBA draft stock of a one Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag is a guy we looked at all season saying he's locked in for number one. Are we really sure about that now? That's something we have to start questioning after this pitiful performance from the Duke Blue Devils. I was expecting a little bit more. Now, Duke in Florida is actually who I had in the championship beginning of the year. That was my championship prediction from the get-go when I made my March Madness bracket. And Nick, you know that because we were joking about it all week long in New York.
Yes.
And with that all being said, I mean, when we look at the path that both of these teams have been on, talking about Florida and Houston, I mean, before Florida even played Auburn, they had a matchup against Maryland, which they won 87-71. They nearly they nearly lost to Texas Tech. That was a relatively close game. Don't let the score fool you. And Houston, on the other hand, I mean, they've just been dominant the entire run. Their only close game was really against Purdue, where they only won by 2, and then against Duke, where they won by 3. So I look at both of these teams, and I could actually see this being a close game, much closer than the women's game was. But I'm still going to go with the Gators. Give me Florida. I had Florida beginning of the year. I'm not giving up on them now.
I have to pick Florida as well, just because they're on this run. But one player stands out to me. He hasn't gotten much playing time, but it's Oliver Ryu. He's the 7'9" kid, and if they use him correctly, he could really make an impact because nobody on Houston is that tall. Nobody can make those dunks. Nobody can just get the ball and put it up. He is a player to watch tonight and really will be in the coming seasons because he's only a freshman. We're going to have to see how he shapes up into the sophomore, into his junior, into his senior year. But he certainly has a career to watch tonight. I think all eyes will be on key players, and he's a key player in my book. I'm going to have to pick the Gators.
Call me, Nick. Call me.
Austin.
I'm going to, yes, me. Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for gracing me. Okay. Walter Clayton is my key player to watch for the Florida Gators. You're going to give yours for Houston. I'll give you mine for Florida. I think Walter Clayton Jr. has completely transcended March Madness this year. When we were going into the tournament this year, who was the number one guy that we were all expecting to see? Who was the number one guy that's on everybody's NBA big draft board? It's Cooper Flag.
Right.
Cooper Flag was the guy that we were all looking at. Walter Clayton Jr. completely changed that rhetoric and made it all about him. And he's done that in every single game. I mean, 34 points last game, 35 minutes. He practically scored a point a game. I mean, a point every minute. So I believe he's going to be a key player to watch here. He is so ball dominant. He can shoot it from downtown. He can do amazing post work. He's a guy to watch. He is a guy that Houston has to cover.
There was an article, and it was from ESPN. They talk about how Oliver Ryu, embraces his height, his Final Four experience, and just skimming through the article, they say, they talk about him. What's his pregame? How does he get ready for a game? And he wasn't on the court when Florida faced Auburn on Saturday, but he's arguably, and they even say this, he's arguably the most popular player on the roster. Sometimes it's even difficult because people just want to get pictures with him. But, it's going to be one to watch because I think if they play him and just the overall Florida sense, the Florida Gators, and, their sense of community, their teamwork, their ability, they could honestly blow away this team tonight. They could honestly blow Houston away if they don't do, the dribbling. Because there's a lot of teams that they lost because they have ball hoggers, just dribbling around. They have to be quick. If Florida can be quick, and if they can get the shots and they can draw the fouls, this game could easily be over first half.
Well, yeah, I'll also say this to Houston, they are sneaky on defense as well. I mean, you look at an Emmanuel Sharp, you look at an LJ Cryer, Jawan Roberts. These guys are sneaky on defense. These guys can come out of nowhere with some steals. They play a lot of full court presses as well, something I noticed against Duke. And this is something that I can actually admit fault to. I completely underestimated going into this year's March Madness. I was expecting them to lose maybe Elite 8 or Sweet 16. I wasn't expecting them to make a Final Four and now a championship push like they did this year. I mean, they were great during the regular season, But going to March Madness, that's a completely different animal. I mean, look at Alabama. They only won by what, 7 points against RMU. So anything can happen in March, which is why I personally believe March Madness is the best championship form across all sports. I'm including major, collegiate, and high school. That's a debate I've had on Two Jagoffs many times. We can maybe revisit that one day. But the point that I'm trying to make here is March Madness is so special and so unique in the sense that any team can win. It could be any team's moment. And I think right now, Nick, this is one of the rare moments in March Madness that we actually have the two best teams competing on the championship level. And that's what's going to make this matchup so historic.
Historic, newsworthy, viewer worthy. Are we going to actually see a record all-time high viewership tonight? Because this game, Austin, if you're betting on it, could come down to the wire, especially we have two number one teams and nobody's really expecting a blowout. Is someone going to take a good bet and take the other side and could possibly make some money?
The only way that I could see this being a blowout is if Florida beats Houston to the gun. And what I mean by that is something that I noticed when I was calling Point Park basketball this year, because I was one of the few play-by-play broadcasters for Point Park. And something I noticed that Point Park failed at time and time again was getting behind too early. When you get behind early on in a basketball game, giving up a 10-0, 12-0, 13-0 run to start off a game, or even a 13-1, 12-2, whatever kind of run early on in the game, it's usually rarely hard to come back from that. And putting yourself in those desired situations can affect you the rest of the game. Now, if Houston can keep it close with Florida to start, even if it's within 5 points, they'll be okay going into the second half. But if they let Florida, I almost said Duke, if they let Florida get up by double digits early on and they fail to capitalize on that, we could possibly see a blowout like we did in the UConn South Carolina game, because that's exactly what happened with the Huskies. I don't think that is going to happen, though. I do agree with you. I think this may be a historic game in terms of viewership, in terms of impressions, likes. It's going to blow up on all social media platforms. One of the main reasons why I want to cover on here in Steel City, because, I mean, it's an absolutely amazing matchup. And like I said from the beginning of the year, I believe this Florida team is something special. I believe Walter Clayton Jr. is going to be a pro when he gets to the NBA. Go Gators. That's all I really got to say. Go Gators.
For sure. Go Gators for sure.
Go Gators. Well, Nick, I do want to end off today's episode with a big announcement. You alluded to it earlier on the episode. Would you like me to share it, or do you want to share it? How do you want to do this?
So it's an honor that we're going to have our first special guest on the episode, on the show next week, Still City Podcast. We are going to be in person. We promised that we've already booked the space. Lucas Coons, he is Two Jagoffs. He's the social media promo guy, and Austin could probably allude to that. But Lucas will be actually joining us here on Still City, kind of just highlighting Still City, talking about sports, because, of course, Pirates will have a lot more games in, get his thoughts on March Madness, because even Lucas alluded to this on the Austin Cairns radio show on Thursday. But Lucas will be joining us on Still City next Thursday. And I also have an announcement to add to that. I will actually be going on to Jagoffs later in April and May. So really excited about that. So as you can probably tell, we're going to be doing a lot of cross-platforming. And that's great, because that's what podcasts do, is you cross-platform to build those audiences, to get those connections. And we're really excited to do so.
Of course, Nick, as much as I love Two Jagoffs, I love Steel City as well. Steel City Commuters is an amazing podcast. I love my Austin Cairns show as well. Inside the Ring, all the shows that I'm on, I'm very blessed to have. And I love being able to have the unique dynamic sense of having my co-host of Steel City, my co-host of Two Jagoffs on my radio show, now on a show that I started with a friend that I met at Point Park, and now that I'm bringing a friend that I met on Point Park to my personal show that I created coming out of high school. It's like a dream come true. It's like so many different crossovers that are happening, and it's going to make a lot of banger episodes. I'm not going to lie.
We have a lot to do this summer in recording content, in getting the episodes, because, Two Jagoffs may be the primary in this summer, but what we're going to do is we're going to get the banger content, and we're going to continue pushing that out. You never know what's going to come. And we even have more guests lined up, too, for Still City that we are working on, from Point Park to athletes to potential pioneers. Lucas is eventually going to be a Point Park Pioneer his junior year, but it's going to be exciting to see who we can build, who we can gather, and what we can make of Still City and Two Jagoffs, and really compare, contrast, and also bring the nick of it. And we're going to do the same on all episodes, is bring the content you want.
Absolutely. Bring the content. And I will tell you what, Lucas has been an amazing pro for us. He's done our social media for the longest time. He helps me do a lot of planning and stuff behind the scenes. He is my co-host as well right now, so along with my dad. So Lucas adds so much value to my podcast. Bringing him on the radio show, you probably saw the talent already there, Nick. We all had great chemistry just like that. And I wasn't even talking for the first 20 minutes of the show. You guys had it all by yourselves, which, by the way, kudos to you guys. You guys did an amazing job.
That's the
But
first
on
time we
Steel,
met. We should probably say that too.
yeah, first time you met.
That's the first time we met was last Thursday for the Austin Cairns radio show. Lucas and I gamed one weekend, but we really didn't understand. We knew each other, but we really didn't know how the chemistry was going to work. But it all fits in just because once you meet up with somebody and you can make that connection, just like Austin and I, when we first started doing Still City, the chemistry, we let it work out. We kind of didn't want to anticipate because we were together. Now on Zoom, we have to talk over each other because we have to anticipate when the delay is, because there's always that 5-second audio delay in the broadcasting industry. But that's why we're always going to be together in person with these guests, is because we can't have interruptions. We have to be together with the chemistry spot on.
Oh, absolutely. It got to be spot on. And either way, Lucas is going to bring some great value to us, and I believe it's going to be spot on regardless. So I'm very much looking
And
forward
we
to
get
it.
to torture
Nick,
you for a little bit.
yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the best part that you guys are
That's the
looking
best
forward
and
to.
most exciting part that I think everybody is starting to wait and watch for.
Hanged up on enough on my other show. I don't need that happening here. This is like my break of the week. This is like my relaxation.
Well, just wait till we start doing the radio show weekly with new management underway.
Oh, good God. Well, Nick, do you have any final words for our viewers out there before we end off today's episode of Steel City?
I'm excited for next week. Let's get to Thursday, the 17th.
Yes, sir. Let's get to Thursday. And with that being said, next week, Lucas Coons will be on the podcast. Until next time from the Steel City Commuters, we will see you in the next one.